Welcome to another video podcast here at Lightingbot. Today we have a wonderful guest named Karla Martinez. I am hoping I'm pronouncing it. I didn't have time to ask her. So I got to know about Karla Martinez from Nora, who we have had on the show previously. And as you guys know, I've been chasing, also trying to promote, different people of different gender fluidity, genders in general, and it's been a bit difficult to find different people. So hopefully, I can also get the opportunity to know Karla about her experiences and also where she stands on things. The topics we're going to talk about today is different topics. Client versus work for dev studios, optimization, probably a little bit how to start, a bit the open world, different things like that. So if you have any questions, as usual, please do take the time to leave questions. Let me know you're watching. Show your support, like, subscribe, share as well, so people know we're online at the moment. So without any ado, let me introduce you to Karla. Hello, Karla.
Hey, how you doing? And you said my name right.
Oh yeah.
You got it.
Just got. I was like practicing earlier. How do I say it? Okay, like
No,
how do they say it?
you nailed it on the first try. Perfect.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
No,
So,
thank you.
Carla, so let's figure out a little bit about you. We didn't prepare anything, obviously, so we're going with the flow. So, as far as I know from your LinkedIn, you've been lighting TD at Bardel Entertainment, isn't that correct?
I've been at lighting I started at Bardel,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to games right after.
Then you went to games, all right. So how come you made that switch? Like you started on and it's like animated series, and then you went into game. What made you make that
To
decision,
be honest,
basically?
so I came to study to Canada in Vancouver, and then I got a job at Bardel doing Viva Pinata. And it was fun. But then they gave me a work permit. And I'm going to be honest, like when I went to EA, they're like, we'll give you a work permit. And I was like, I already like lighting. But I didn't know games. To be fair, when I went to school, it was like many centuries ago because I'm quite old now. But
I don't blame you,
game
but that's fine.
well, the only experience I had in games, even though I played games most of my life, I never envisioned what lighting would be in games. You know what I mean? Because it was like a lot of vertex lighting, a lot of like. So when I got the interview for EA and they showed me a little of what entailed, I was curious, and I was like, oh, okay, it's more than just vertex lighting. And then I think that was my misconception. Again, this was back in the day, so when I started working for them, it was like a whole track of different, you know what I mean? It was so different from my brief experience in TV. And it was a lot more technical. And
Yeah,
I kind of loved it, to be honest.
I mean, it's true actually. When I look at the year you did it, 2006 to 2007,
Yeah.
it's I think I was just about to finish, or I was in the middle of my bachelor's degree actually in
Yeah.
games when you were already getting started. So, yeah, you've been around for quite a while, longer
Yeah.
than me
So
actually. So that's
I'm quite old, that's what I mean. So my
uh
first game was NBA Live. So, and it was vertex cut. And we didn't see, when we lit, we couldn't see what we were lighting an engine. We had to build it and deploy it. So,
wow,
yeah.
that's tedious. So basically, you couldn't. Yeah, I mean, that's probably why it took me a bit time to get into lighting. To be fair, because
Yeah.
obviously I was aware about lighting when it comes to Maya and V-Ray and these kind of thing and arch visualization. But I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to wait for this long to watch renders and everything. I'm just gonna go do something else for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I still joke because most of us lighters, we bake a lot. So we're like, oh, YouTube. Let's watch something.
Yeah.
But yeah, back in that time, you didn't. Some games had. I was at EA, so they had their own version of stuff, but it was based on Maya, which was nice because you could use all the Maya tools, and then they would compile and then put an engine. But NBA didn't. It was all vertex, like it's not all vertex lit, but it was not what you would enjoy lighting now.
Yeah, for sure. Just to give a shout out as well to Turkey Master, he's a loyal viewer. Thank you for watching. Edwin is also a bit old, so he's saying memories of not having previews on viewport. He's saying hello.
Yeah,
So, so
yeah,
there are a few people that are like on the same level as you in terms of experience and probably age as well. But you were at EA for like 5 years though. So
yeah. I was there
what?
for a bit.
So what happened there? What was it that you were happy there, or was that like the only opportunity at the time before you moved over to Eidos?
Yeah, so EA was great for me because they have a really good mentorship program. At least when I was in Vancouver, I was very very lucky to work with some really talented and amazing lighters there that really took me under their wing and like showed me a lot. And I found my experience from TV very different from that experience that I had in EA, because TV was so fast paced, you had to learn on the fly. And then when I went to EA, we were building a game that wasn't necessarily done tomorrow, or it didn't have like a cut. So people took time. I'm not saying this is like a global experience, but I was very lucky that it was mine, that they really took their time and taught me without being, not that I don't, not that Bardel was mean or anything. It wasn't. It's just when you're in a rush, you don't have the time to grab the hand of a junior as much as EA did for me in the beginning.
Right.
So that set me in a good path. But then after 5 years of doing stadiums, I was like, I need to. It was
Yeah.
nothing bad. Like I would go back to them if the
It's
job was
interesting.
right.
It's interesting you're telling me about that because for like at least 6 months, EA have been trying to recruit the lighting artists for this stadium type of work, and I've had a couple of people and students coming like, "Oh, this is a job opportunity at EA, but it's lighting stadium." So I think maybe. What's the learning potential of doing this? Because you did it for 5 years, I think it's a good opportunity to highlight this type of work because there is actually people deciding or not deciding whether they want to accept that opportunity or not. So why don't dig a little bit deeper on that and explain
Yeah.
what
So
you got out of it?
okay. So when I was there, is a world of different that what probably it is now. They have completely revamped tools, and but what I can tell you, what it was good for me. Like I said, I was a junior, just starting out. They had like, I think that's the biggest team, because when I was there, it was like an art team that it was focused not on one title, but on the art team was like all titles. So you could work on FIFA, you could work on NBA, you could work on SSX, you could work on Fight Night. You know what I mean? Like you were not on. Some people are, but my experience was like I worked on so many titles, and each title had a different engine, which was really buggy for me. But now I appreciate it because it gives your mind that flexibility of not getting stuck on one engine. And I mean, all engines suck, but
Disclaimer.
disclaimer, like even Unreal, even Unity, like there's gonna be like you're gonna hit your head on a wall. There's no perfect engine, I think.
No,
But
there's not.
I mean, yes, like
There's
when you're
probably
in
a
a production,
preference.
yes,
There might
there's
be a
preference.
preference. Yeah.
But
So
even
which one
if
do you
you're,
prefer?
I'm working for Unity.
That's the answer right now. We're sidetracking the conversation.
Let me tell you,
I
I'm working for.
apologize.
No, but I can tell you. So when I worked for Eidos and Square, they had, I think, the engine. I don't know if they're still using this engine for Lara Croft. Is called Horizon.
Hmm,
Honestly, it was the best engine I've worked with,
cool.
because
Cool.
it was node based, but like it was so flexible. It was easy for artists to use. There was even an integration with Perforce that on the layers you could see that layer that you had was checked out. So like it was very easy, very artist friendly um, to use. But yeah, like going back to your original question, for me EA was good because it taught me a lot. Also the how do you say the like the processes of understanding a production from beginning to end on a very smooth production, because like FIFA, they have it nailed, right? Like they know what they're doing. but it also teaches you the back end of like optimization. Like it, the pipeline is very well done. So being on that for different titles, it was very helpful. And then on different engines, working with different people, um, understanding what like the render SEs do, understanding what your role is, how important TAs are, and the fact that you could just go on the floor and talk to everybody. You know, that was very helpful for me.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
It
And
was very teachable for me.
teachable. So
Like
obviously,
it taught me a lot there.
so you could recommend someone basically that it might be worth trying. But do you think someone will get a bit spoiled when you join a studio that has kind of a very mechanical approach to the workload? It's kind of all decided and you kind of know it how things work. Do you think you get a bit annoyed once you go to another studio, especially startup studios, and you go, shit,
It,
this place is chaotic in comparison?
to be fair, and to EA's merit, I don't know what it is now because I was there many years ago, right? So they've probably expanded, and I know they're doing a lot more cinematics now than when I was there. So I think if somebody wants to learn in that type of environment, I had a good time.
Okay, cool. Um, so then you had a little, you had a time of Eidos. I think you worked on Thief or something. It was a
Yes,
very
Thief was chaotic.
Thief was chaotic, but nonetheless a very known and respected game though
Yeah,
in that sense as well. It was definitely an interesting. I am a big stealth fan, so
yeah.
games like Thief is like, uh, yeah. How should I put this in a non-weird way? It's like
It's
I like it.
it's fun. Like they're fun games, and to build they're fun. And going like what you said, like going from a very structured approach to going to Thief, it was like I don't know, like going into a room and being like, where do I start? Like it's all messy. It's all messy everywhere. But this is production, right? Like I've worked on more productions like that than not since. And yeah, I think it teaches you a lot too. And
Probably should.
yeah, my lead at that time, his name is Louis Vincent. He's freaking great lighter too. So I was very lucky again to work with like have really good mentors throughout. And I remember lighting, for example, stuff there, and they like you were very like self disciplined at some point too, because you just had to do it. It
Right.
was not as structured
Hmm.
as maybe FIFA. You know what I mean? Like it was more like this level needs to be done now.
I should point out that you were when people have been lighting artists for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, as I'm speaking in terms of position and title, before they became a senior, you, I think it's unfair that you spent so much time before you became a senior. That's
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's not good. That's not good at all. So that's I'm glad to see you eventually, obviously, quite
I think that's a little
afterwards.
touch. It's a little bit, and I don't want to sound repetitive, but it sounds a lot. And this I've found with a lot of women in games. The
That is why
titles.
I'm pointing out, so you get an opportunity to talk
Yeah, no,
about it.
I appreciate it. I think there's a twofold. There's the fact that women don't rise as fast as men do, and you could see it in a lot of the women that you're going to be interviewing. And the other thing is when you jump companies, I when I recommend this to anybody, whenever somebody jumps a company, this is your chance to get as much and the title that you want, and give yourself the value that you know you have. Like don't sell yourself short, because I did it a lot at the beginning of my career, and yeah, like you can see, I know friends that rise up faster. I know people that are still like more senior than me, women that did just got their seniorship. And it's really sad because they were leads. But being lead on a game doesn't mean you're a senior. It's a different.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I am almost confident you're better than me, obviously, because you've been doing this for quite a long time, and I became senior half the time.
Yeah.
But it's different now. I think generally
Yeah.
companies are a bit without gender related. I think companies are much more aware of they have to retain talent.
Yeah.
And they are more keen on making sure people are treated better. At least where I work now, they're very good at treating me. So I don't
Nice.
really, every offer I get, I'm like, I don't know if I want to
Yeah.
leave.
If you have something good, don't I you know when it's your time to leave a company. That's the way I feel like you know when your time has been out. And I do agree. I think companies are trying to make it better, but I do believe that there's still a lot of room to grow, and I feel like as women need to be more vocal about it. I can only speak for myself, and I know at the beginning of my career it was almost like I don't want to rock the boat because I don't want to lose an opportunity. I don't want to, like my first job, I didn't even argue with the money because I was like, oh my God,
And
you know
I
what I mean?
argued the first time. I was like, no, I don't want the offer. And then they came back with the more. I was like,
See,
okay,
I
fine,
didn't
I'll
have the
take it.
guts to do that. I'm being honest with you. I thought if I don't take this, they're going to go for somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's I think is the issue. A lot of people are at least when they start out, they're concerned if they don't take it, someone else gonna take it. And
Yeah.
but I guess for me, I've always been I don't really care. I just go
Oh no, it's
make.
good. It's good to have that attitude because you know your worth. That's what I'm saying. Like, know your worth and yeah, stick to it because come
Someone's
up.
gonna treat you right, right, right.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna respect that and
And
give
if
you
you
what
don't
you want.
respect yourself, companies or not, it's there's to be out like yeah, like if you don't know where you stand, it's like if I come to you and let's say I want 50K, right? Just a random number. And you as a company, you're gonna be like, okay, you want 50K, but you're not asking, I offer you 30 and you take it. You're gonna be angry at yourself because I probably could have given you 50 or I could have given you
Yeah,
45.
Carla, if you come to me and ask me 50 for something, if I had 50, I would give you 50.
Can you give me 100?
Sure, if I keep 80, I can give you 100.
Oh, see, that's why you're gonna be friends. No, but yeah, know your worth and don't be afraid to say it. It feels really weird the first time you do it, but afterwards,
Yeah, then
it's
it gets
good.
easier and easier, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pivot back and forth now, just to keep retain people's attention as well, because there's different reason people tuning in. So you talk about different studios, jumping studios. So how is this related to working for client versus studio? What's the difference there, and what's your thoughts or experience in this?
So this is the first time that I've done it. I've always worked for big developers. And when I started in Unity, they have a team that has a bunch of clients and we work for them. To me, the difference is that you don't have like access to that client. You know what I mean? Like before my client's my art director and made the director of my gameplay, you know what I mean? So I would just go be like, does this fit? And it's an answer that's snappy. This is like it's different world a little bit. It's more like you're working on short projects. The pro is that the good thing is they're short projects and you get to use cool tech. The bad thing is that you have all those long developments of a game that you can see it built up. Uh, but I think the main difference is the responsiveness of my client, like just walking to the AD and being like, "Hey, that's a final answer." You know what I mean? And here sometimes it's like, "Oh, let me see what the client thinks of a bigger issue." So it's like you're in the middle. It's
Right.
it's
So, what type of clients are we talking about? Is it like game companies? Is it art visualization? Is it
yeah.
hospitals or oil industry? Is it
Well, Unity
simulation?
has an array of big companies that they do service for. Like I did a stuff for the stock exchange, and then I'm working for a big company that does concerts. I'm not sure that project's not fully out, so I know they released, but I don't know how much I can tell you about it. That project is really big, but the other ones are small. They have a lot of sometimes previews for film, which is kind of cool because you get your hands in there for a few weeks and then you're off and then you do something else and then so that's nice because at least your eyes get to see variety. um
That's true.
yeah, so you get a lot of, and to be fair, the nice thing is to working in a place like Unity is that If I need something, I can just talk to the devs.
Uh,
I mean,
so
I'm not sure things will change, but I can just ask them like, how does this properly work? It's very
that's true.
self-driven, so that's
So
nice.
so would you say, so what is it that you like with Unity? Because obviously you worked at Ubisoft as well, in
Yeah,
which you use different, maybe one specific or more than one specific Ubisoft engine, because they have different versions depending on where you
yeah,
are and
depending
stuff
on the
like that.
game.
And you worked on Far Cry Primal, Watch Dogs 2, Watch Dogs Legions, Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline. Before
Yeah,
that,
I
you were
did.
Square Enix Montreal, Rise of Tomb Raider. So obviously, you have different experiences. And how does that relate to your current experience in Unity, and in terms of technology and the way of picking up the engine, using the engine, having access to the technology? Is it more up to date and a bit more exclusive than what, for example, I have on my computer, or how does that
Oh
work?
no, it's Unity, like it's HDRP. Like it's that's what I'm using mainly. I'm
So,
doing, yeah, it's pretty much the pro version what you guys have. There's some small modifications according to the team, but it's like nothing that I would consider super extra. There's some things that we get to play with that it's if there's testing, like I know they're testing some new tech and I'm happy that I get to get my hands on them, like because I'm nosy and I message it and I'm like, can I try? So that part's cool, but for the projects, it's HDRP.
okay. And would you say HDRP is suitable for like games, or would you say URP is more suitable, or what are your current
I
experience
think
and thoughts
every
about that?
engine is depending on what your game needs are. I think, to be fair, I've used URP very little. I'm mainly focused on HDRP, but what I've played with URP, it feels that it's very suitable for a game like a mobile or maybe a Switch. You know what I mean? And HDRP, I I don't know how it would work. And coming from UB, from a big open world, I haven't tested it that extensively to tell you that. But for example, the engine that we used on UB was it was for open world, so it's very good for that. Like it manages like primal and like for example, Watch Dogs Legion. I've never put like that game had more lights than I've ever seen in a game. We packed it with so many lights and it was systemic. Like I've never had a game with that much like physical lights. Like so
Okay.
and it handled well.
Uh, I'll throw in one viewer question for now, just to see if you have any opinion about it. If you don't have an answer, that's also fine. We'll just make up a different answer. Is Houdini ever relevant for lighting your environments? Is there a need for proceduralism in lighting?
I haven't worked
Interesting
on a
question.
game that uses Houdini for lighting. I know they've used it for other things. Like for example, I know that for effects it's been used. I don't know to what extent. But I remember, for example, in SSX, they did the runs in Houdini. They actually downloaded from NASA all the drops and then they used it like a base. I don't know to how much extent. I know Houdini is being implemented more and more in games, um,
So, what's your
but
thought
not
on
for
the
lighting.
proceduralism then? Because proceduralism, to me, I'm assuming, or I'm gonna make it into this assumption because it's easier to answer, is automation of lighting. So, for example, if you remember, maybe during your time too at Ubisoft, some of the lighting is kind of predefined and automated, and then you kind of go in and tweak. At least when I was at Ubisoft, there was certain things that 3-point lighting, dialogue, everything was kind of automated, and then you can only tweak it. What are your thoughts on kind of making lighting and lighting sets a bit more automated, and then the lighting artist goes in and kind of tweaks it more than anything? What are your thoughts
We
on that?
had a tool for Watch Dogs for facade lighting that you could use, but we didn't end up using it because, and I wish it would have worked. I'm not against procedural stuff. Like honestly, if we get good AI and procedural work that does the redundant stuff, I just want to do pre-lighting. I don't want to be fixing stuff. So if we get procedural tools that do that, I'm for it. Like I'm not I'm not against it. But the reason why, and in my experience, it hasn't boomed as much as it does, is because you need to input a set of rules, like a ton of rules, to give you what you want, right? And the feedback loop is like regenerate. So if you get a team that can do all that and give you good results, that's fine. But while I'm in production and I have to do that and I'm not getting the results I want, I'm going to scrap it because I don't have time, and I'm going to do it by hand because I'll get what I want. So I don't think procedural has picked up because it's a matter of time. Like, I don't think production usually is not, when you're in production, and I don't know your experience, you can let me know. You don't have time. The development time in production is so short
Well, I
because
mean,
you're like running
if you're
against it.
asking about my experience compared to you, it's obviously almost nothing. But yeah, I have enough experience to
No,
keep
no,
up
no. With
with you.
procedural, like,
I mean, at Ubisoft when we did Ghost Recon Breakpoint, all the conversations in the game has like automatic lighting,
mm,
and you would only go in if it needed some extra lighting or fix it. So
nice.
certain scenes with Splinter Cell or Sam Fisher was specifically done by hand by the lead lighting artist because it was such an important scene and he needed to do it. But then
Nice.
the characters generally, like they just there was like four level of lightings. There was level 1, 2, and 3, 4, and there's different automation for it. And then it would place the 3 point lighting, and then we'll match it with the real time lighting, and it kind of you kind of didn't have to do all the redundant stuff, but you
Oh,
would
that's
have to go
nice.
in sometimes to optimize it or make some changes. So a lot of work went into that, but I thought it was nice way of skipping kind of the simple stuff, and that's kind of
Yeah.
why I have a strong opinion that in the future, especially with Unreal Engine 5 Lumens, I do think lighting is going to be easier when it comes to realistic things and redundant things, and
Oh,
therefore I
yeah.
believe you really need to have good color sense instead, color harmony, mood, storytelling, and that kind of lighting skills. So when I teach students at lighting bot, I kind of focus on these things more than just the technical. But I know people like Nora is like, no, you gotta know the technical.
I think both are crazy important. Like, and I agree. I think procedural has a big, as like, you can't compare a game that was done like when I was starting to a game that's done now. Like, even watch Andromeda, right? Like, it's massive. Like, Watch Dogs, like all these games. So if you can get procedural to a place that is good and let your lighters do like the actual work of the stuff that is like A, and let procedural do like C or D. Ah, that's beautiful. Let's do that. But like, yeah, like Nora is very technical. But I do agree with Nora that we're still doing software. And if you, like, for example, with PBR and everything, if you don't have those bases covered, and if you're just like, they're both very, very important. But now I lean a little more on the technical because if you don't have those and you're just being like, oh, it's a pretty picture, like your material might not work. Like if you don't get your metals right, if you know what I mean, like it goes a little further.
That's interesting. So two questions in this case: how experienced are you in Unreal Engine compared to third-party engine versus Unity?
In Unreal, I played with Unreal for a bit. Like, I'm not super experienced, but I know my way around it.
So would you say you're better in the Unity engine than Unreal at this stage?
Yeah, I'm better in Unity because I use it every day. Like, I've used
Uh,
it every day for like 9 months now since I've been.
so would you say Unity is more requires a lighting artist to be more technical than, for example, when you dabble with Unreal Engine or other third-party engines in the production sense?
I think a lighter benefits in being technical or understanding the foundations of that technical in every way, because Unreal is really good. Unity is really good. The engines I work, some are better than others, but if you, I spend most of my day fixing things, like, and that's when technical comes in. Like if somebody asks you just to, hi, how was this broken, you can, or debug this, because I don't know you, but for example, they always blaming lighting. Oh, lighting's broken here, lighting is this, and you're like, oh no, your normals are inverted, or like, oh no, like you need to know what you're debugging. So, like,
That's definitely my experience because the current game we're doing um is in Unity.
it's never our fault. It's always somebody
Uh, and we're using URP right now
Yeah.
for our, and yeah, I spent like half a year trying to just fix stuff and then showing people, nope, it's the
Yeah.
transparency material on top of base material, it's the normal map, or it's because you
Yeah.
didn't model this and it's light bleeding, because
Oh,
if
why
you
is
just
your
put light
material so
blockers.
black? Oh, because you make it the color charcoal. Nothing can light it. Or like they give you a crumble and they're like, why isn't it light? Because you made chrome.
Because it's reflective, duh.
Light a mirror.
So would you say there you go.
Nora's awesome. Like
The one,
honestly,
the one and only we've been talking about on the stream
Nora, I
is
hope I get to work
watching.
with her again. She's truly the best.
We've been talking about you, Nora. We're so sorry. Apologies ahead of time.
Yeah.
Um, so no, I mean, so what would you say? Like, say if you were to train someone in lighting and they don't have modeling experience, they don't have any experience whatsoever, what are the things and order of events that you think a lighting artist should know? Because you were talking about the materials, and that means you're often the person who needs to fix the materials, which in theory is a bit disturbing when the specialist in material in
Oh,
3D
I
doesn't do
don't
it
fix them, but I
correctly.
need to know how to debug them. Like I need to
Right.
be because the thing is, at least in my experience, is they will always come to you and blame you, and then it's your job to prove it's not you and send
but
it.
but but that's interesting to, because I've noticed that too, and my I haven't decided what I think about it yet, but it's like the person you're trusting to make the correct, the 3D, the normals, the materials, ac- in my opinion, they should already know that it's something they did, but they don't. So what do you think? Or what can we do to make sure that the people we are depending on, that are creating the content, the materials, the 3D, so they understand that this is something they need to correct?
Oh,
Because
I
I've
would
noticed
send
that too.
pictures. Like honestly, send pictures, send values, put in an email, send all your be like, hey, this is wrong. Put a picture of what it is, put a picture of the settings, put a picture of the settings you think they are. And just ask because we all are human and we all make mistakes, right? Like it's not a blame game. And when we're in production, sometimes things are being done so fast. That's what I mean. Their deadlines, we don't know their deadlines, right? So I'm sure nobody does it with malice. But yeah, I would put and just message and be like, hey, can you help me out here? And then you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes it's a little more extensive as maybe the shader is broken and they don't realize that it's broken. And you're the one that has
Well,
to
my philosophy, if it's the shader is broken, blame the coders because they did something.
Yeah. And then they're like, it wasn't me. It was working
It
on
was
my computer.
it was you. You did something. You
You know
shouldn't
what
be
I've
touching.
experienced, and I don't know if this is true to others, but a lot of programmers, and not to the blame because we need them and we love them, but when they only see the code and they're like, did you put in game? So my first question to debug anything is, what does it look like in game, not on your computer? Because and especially not in a gym that you did. Look at it in Target. Because your gym, I don't know what your gym is. I don't know your settings. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that
Like,
makes sense. I mean, that's a common thing as well. How's your experience working with the SGR TVs? Do you have any experience with that
not a
lighting?
lot.
Also, no, not me either. It's kind of difficult to realize if you don't pay attention to it. So I was
Yeah.
hoping someone knew.
No, but I know that, for example, there was a lot of work done at the end of Watch Dogs. They had a team that was like doing different for different monitors, different TVs, different aspirator. You know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't on my side. It was done by a different team.
Okay,
I wish I
that's
had
good.
more visibility.
Yeah. Quick hello to Simon because I forgot to say Simon. Thank you for watching as usual. Quick thank you to Turkey Master, Edwin, Luke Skywalker as well. He's my. I just tease him because he comes on as Luke Skywalker, so there's always some Star Wars references because of him.
Nice.
Um, so I mean, it's quite interesting. So, how? What would you say is more challenging for a lighting artist? Is it to work with clients or studios, or is
I
it just different?
It's different. I've had more experience directly with studios, so that's the way I'm still more like my mind's still more set on that. This to me feels a little like doing a little bit of like a little bit of bunch of work. Um like doing small demo reels almost, which yeah, they can put a lot, but like I think I still my mind gravitates more to a studio because that's where I've been for many years and I'm more comfortable with that.
And when you use SGRP, because that's where you most of your client work is with
Yeah.
Unity specifically, correct?
Yeah.
What's your workflow when you do your lighting using Unity SDRP? Are you doing physical correct because you can because it's already technically in SDRP when you work on it? Um, so
Well,
how do you approach it?
yeah, I think most studios, or at least the ones I've worked for in the past, and if they're using PBR, the workflow or the basis. I think that's why I grabbed it back to what Nora was saying. Like your fundamentals are the same. Like you want to make sure that the material, because they're so interdependent at this point, right? Like you need lighting to work, your materials to work, you need your settings to work. So just keep checking that little triangle feedback and making sure that if something is wrong, first check your own settings, because there's most of the time if I it's like Murphy's law, if I don't check my settings, it's gonna be my fault. So I
Right.
check my work and then start debugging the other, like check the materials, make sure that they're in balance, and if they're not, talk to the texture artist.
So if we're to recommend some lighting artists to pick up on how to understand materials, what how would you advise and suggest them to do that?
To check materials.
Yeah, like how does someone who is not like because I think I didn't check your education, but like people like me and other people, we obviously have like a fundamental art education, so you obviously learn 3D modeling and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I learned it with PBR didn't even exist.
No, I didn't either. When we were learning, it's like paint it over Photoshop. I used to paint
Exactly.
my light maps in EA. I like that was my hack for FIFA. If they were bad, I would just like go into Photoshop and paint them over. I was like, whatever. But now you can't do that.
So how do we
So how do you learn
um
materials?
yeah.
So there's a ton of good tutorials out there, but honestly, they're based on a certain rules that are physically based, right? And if you want to really understand, I just keep looking outside. I like taking pictures because it solidifies a lot of that, right? Like what I was saying, um, just because you can make things black doesn't mean everything should be, because now you're reacting like I think charcoal, the properties of charcoal, I don't know the numbers, but it's the darkest you can go in a black. But for example, because you can do that doesn't mean you want a wall. You know what I mean? Like just because you can make rubber black like an attire doesn't mean you want a whole building like that. So if artists, I think sometimes it's start with the fundamentals and being basic and then build from there. Sometimes we want to get, especially when you're new, because I used to do this, you make your light rigs overly complicated. And for example, now when I light one light at a time, key, rim, fill, like you know what I mean, and then build from there. You might end up with something very complex, but you might not. And also I've learned through so the first time I was lighting, I didn't name my lights. And my lead at that time, she's like, Karla, you can't lead to name all your lights. So it's good practice. Like name your stuff, because there's gonna be a day that you might be sick and somebody has to pick up after you. So do your work easy so somebody can pick it up and it's understandable. Like working on somebody else's rig is like understanding, because you light very different than I do. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like
For sure. Definitely.
I mean, I don't know if you had to ever debug somebody else's lighting.
Uh, no, not like not very heavily because normally when I'm hired to do lighting, it's mostly me as the primary lighter, and then I have to get other people to join afterwards. Or the debugging I did at Ubisoft was mostly someone else who was already doing lighting a lot, and I would maybe fix something that was
Yeah.
supposed to be finished, and you kind of have to debug. But then it's more of technical debugging more than the lighting
Oh
being
yeah.
bad, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, not too much, but it's there's a lot of debugging where I work now because of the way we force Unity to do stuff it's not really designed to do. So we don't use like the normal way of doing
Fair.
baking. We have our own way of doing baking because the way we load environments and stuff. So it's a very technical game, even though it's
Yeah.
very simple. We actually are um, talking about the game today, right now on Xbox Bethesda Live at the moment. So that's what I'm
Nice.
going to do afterwards in about 20 minutes. That's where
Cool.
I'm going to watch and
Con-
see because I don't even know what's
Congratulations on
going on.
that.
Yeah, thank you. So it's a very technical. That's why I asked the question: do you think certain engines are more technical? Because in my experience, at least in this product and this game, it's very required to be a lot more technical and more in control of the materials, more in control of
Yeah.
the even VFX as well. Anything that has transparency, any environment that's transparency, you know, have to be more vigilant when doing lighting. So that's why I'm asking. While in Ubisoft and Iron Valley Studios and other these studios I've worked on, I didn't have to. Worry too much about it, and I think the
Yeah.
reason is they already had like very established, as you said earlier, very
Yeah.
established pipeline.
I can tell you, for example, in Lara Croft, it was more visual than technical. So you're right. Uh, like it was more about the end product. But I find now the bigger the games, I have to say, for example, Unreal is very good. Even the UI is very nice. It's very easy for an artist to get in and learn a lot without having to, where's this button? Where do I turn this? Because sometimes it's even that, like, oh, I didn't flag this. You know what I mean? So, like, Unreal is very good at that. Like, it has, you can pick it up and do something very nice without having to worry about all the other stuff. But aside from that, because that's an engine that's built for people, proprietary engines, on my personal experience, aside from Horizon, are not like that. They're programmer heavy. They're like, they're built by a programmer, and then they tell the artist, like, oh, figure it out.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that's what I think about the current Unity engine we're using. It's very customized, so it depends a lot of code. And that's why I told you earlier, if something is broken, I blame code because they don't want to change the engine. Because if
Yeah.
I did it on my own, I wouldn't have the same problem. So I
Yeah.
know kind
No.
of it's something, you know, I can't we can't learn everything as lighting artists. At least we're not Nora anyway, that understands all the
No,
code
we all
and the
strive to
back
be like
end.
that.
It's like, what the hell is this code doing? I don't know. Go ask
Yeah.
code.
No,
So
no, but yeah, like you're right. Like for example, yeah, no, like the engine we use for Watch Dogs was very painful. But the rendering
what was the
SCs were
name?
great. Dunia.
And, for the engine.
Yeah, for it's called Dunia. It's
Oh,
I don't know if it's called Dunia, but it's a version of Dunia. Like yeah, I think it's I forget the name, but it's
because I had to use Anvil.
oh yeah, Anvil is I heard Anvil is better.
It's kind of better, but it was still a
We use a
tedious.
we use a different version. Like they split Far Cry and they went like and for example the version that we had for Watch Dogs is not the same version that Far Cry had, but it's based
Right,
on the same
exactly.
engine. Yeah,
Yeah.
painful.
The yeah, that's. I think they started improving it when I left Ubisoft. They said they're gonna hire like an engineering team. They're gonna make one big engine for all the studios. I don't know if that's happened or not, but that's one of my recommendation as well. When I decided to go, I was like,
But EA is
dude, you.
now backtracking that though. That's what I heard. I think EA is not you know what I mean? Like EA, I heard that EA is not going to be doing that anymore. I heard that they might do Unreal for what is it? Mass their new what is it? There's a game Mass Effect that they're doing.
Is it
They're,
Mass Effect?
No, they're using, yeah, I think it's gonna be Unreal. That's the rumor.
So Nora says, "Come on, most people of my time is asking people how to do things in YouTube tutorials." I suppose. And then Turkey Master saying, "Isn't Ubisoft mainly using Dunia now?" It's possible.
They use
And
Dunia for Far Cry and Watch Dogs, and then Anvil for
we use
Restore.
them for the Ghost Recon games and
Assassins, I think, uses it still.
yeah, but for Assassin, the last one, Black, no, the one they started before I left, I think they switched over to a more up to date engine. But then, if you work long enough in Ubisoft, or at least if you talk to the technical director, which I had access to, he would show me all the engines across studios because he was on high level. So he would show me the different tools. And then we would talk about like this tool is missing in this engine, but we love it here. How did we
Yeah,
get this? So this is very common in these studios,
like
I've
we
noticed.
were very lucky because the render team for Watch Dogs did was incredible. Honestly, one of the best render teams I've worked with. They were super approachable. You could talk to them. They would help us. Like they would do as many tools as they could. And I'm not even kidding. That game had you could pack it. We had so many lights. I'm not even kidding. Another engine wouldn't have been able to. Like, and they did tools to help us with that to manage. Like, I don't think they get sometimes enough credit. Like, they did a miracle on that game.
Nora is claiming she doesn't know everything.
She knows everything. She's
I, so I don't believe it.
we don't believe you, Nora. We know the truth.
So yeah, no. So I guess I tried because there's so much going on here right now. Engine talk and so you were gonna talk a little bit about open world and linear games, something,
Okay,
right?
I'll tell you faster. Like, so the difference that I found after Lara Croft was a very linear game. We were highlighting like a can is there in the foreground, like you know what I mean. Like we
How
would
many
lighting.
lighters were there on the Lara Croft game?
So we were two teams. There was one in California, and we were in Montreal. So for a long time, I was your only lighter in Montreal, and then I left, and they brought in two lighters. One was my own lead, so Chris is marked, so I was very happy. And they had we did very little cinematics because Montreal actually had a cinematic department, so they were doing the bigger cinematics. We were doing the in-game ones. But that game was fun because the team was so small, and yeah, we crunched like crazy. But the team was small, so I had people coming to me like, "Hey, can you do or like, can you light it like this?" Or I could go to them and be like, "Can you crack a hole in the ceiling so I can put a light in there?" So it was very small. So it was, and it was, we were, all the side quests or side missions, we did them. So we didn't have to rely on California to approve our stuff. So it was separate and it was so fun. It was really fun game to light for.
It was a fun game to play. It's the only one I played of the Tomb Raider franchise that when they restarted it, it was the only one I actually
Yeah.
played. It was a good game as
She
well.
dies in horrible ways.
Yeah, it's funny when she jumps and nothing happens and you fail.
Yeah.
It's like so brutal. You're like,
It's
dude,
so
what the hell?
brutal. Every way she can die, she'll die.
Yeah, it's funny,
But then
isn't it?
you go from that is super hands-on, you massage like crazy, and then you end up in a game that is like primal, that is systemic, and they're like no lights, just torches, and you're like, what am I doing? Literally, what do you need me for?
Yeah.
And
How was that though? Like,
I've
how was
never
that
had
to
an
like?
open world experience till I joined UB, and it was primal, and literally was like, there's no lighting, it's just nature.
And torch.
So yeah, and but you get to say hi to all the animals, so that was fun. But it was very different to me. It was a bit of a shocker because I was used to that point. Even Thief was linear, so to making sure the shot at that time was as nice as possible. And then I tried to do the same recipe in an open world, and they were like, "No, you can't do that. It's a stomach." And you're like, "Whatever."
That's where you go. Okay, I don't want to do open roll anymore. I'm gonna go back
Yeah,
to
like
linear.
it really like my primal experience from the first few months, it was very confusing because I was like, why do you need me? Like, it's a couple torches. But then you start getting the feel, and it's a lot more technical. And then you're like, oh, I understand. So it is guiding the player with very subtle hints for missions. It is understanding your budgets, um, creating stuff like it is a different package. Both important, but in an open world you can go anywhere. And then that's when my crazy budgeting began. Like, it needs to be
Optimization.
perform, and optimization is so important. And optimize with Lara Croft, it started and it hasn't stopped since. Like, because I'm of the idea that at any point after you do a game, when they take it away, it needs to be performant. So the idea of like put as much as you want and then we'll have time to optimize, for me that doesn't exist. I haven't had that experience in games. It's almost like work hands off, it's done. So that's what I like, to work on a budget first.
Yeah, luckily in the studio I am right now, we got like 3 months to optimize, just
Oh,
just
nice.
optimize. I was like, oh, thank God, because
That's
we,
not the norm though.
it's not, but yeah, it's such a funny studio to work at. It's funny.
Yeah.
So we
I,
have a couple of minutes of that, and I want to address the last topic. We kind of talked about it already, but I want to give us the opportunity to talk a bit more before we end, which is women in games and
yes.
working in different studios, and talking to you, obviously talk to other women as well. Um, how's just you kind of mentioned already in the beginning that, okay, in your observation and what you think and what you have experienced, is that it took a little bit longer to become a
Oh
senior
yeah.
lighting artist, and maybe because you're a woman. So what other things do you notice or have heard from other female game developers in this case, that might be worth pointing out, and also, guide other women in
Yeah.
their journey ahead?
I find that my experience, especially when I was starting, I think it was twofold. I was not from Canada, so I was on a work visa. So, and also a woman that I worked on, for example, when we were in Eidos, and in like when I was in Lara Croft, we were like maybe three women. Like, so that's when having strong like male counterparts that know how to tip the balance to you and like give you the respect. My lead at that point was very good at being like, no jokes like that, you know what I mean, like keeping everything professional, because it can quickly become something that's uncomfortable, not just for me but for other people, right? But like, and now I'm seeing more women in games, which makes me very very happy. And but yeah, like when I was starting, it was very hard for me to vocalize what I needed and what I was. Yeah, like you see, like what you were saying, like, oh, I was a senior before you, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have been. You should have been. You probably need to be higher. But women sometimes, I'm saying me, I didn't vocalize that or being like, oh, can I do this? Because I was like, you know what? They're just gonna go for somebody else. Like, it was that fear. And recently I was like, no, I deserve the spot on the table. And my fellow women deserve the spot on the table. And if we don't fight for each other, like, it is important because it's still happening. Like, I had a recent talk maybe last summer with a coworker from a different company that she's older than me, has more experience than me, and just became a senior. And I was like, that to me, it's mind boggling. So it's not fair, but we need to vocalize it more. And I really do hope that companies stop doing a lot of lip service and actually do it, because a lot of them are like, yeah, we'll do it, women. And they're like,
We did women.
yeah. And
I'm
not just
asking because,
women, like also like minorities. It's like,
yes, I was gonna ask because I wasn't. I'm gonna ask because I'm not sure. Are you considered a minority?
well, I'm Mexican, I'm gay, and I'm a woman. So
So you're gay, you're Mexican, and you're a woman. Okay,
yeah,
so that's like
I'm
three
agreeing.
different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
also
have you
like,
experienced that to be a problem though? The other things, minority being gay, is that because, I mean, unless you specify at least the gay part, probably people probably don't notice or know that. At least I
yeah,
wouldn't know that until you
yeah.
specify it.
I think it is important in the way that we speak, because, for example, the place I worked until now that I work from home, but like always in studios, we have to be mindful on what we say sometimes, because what might be right for me to say, sometimes we meet people that are new from different ethnicities and different walks of life, and I notice a lot of people just make jokes. We don't know who we're, and it's not being PC. It's being a creating a comfortable work environment for everybody, right? Like, we're working. We have to make a product together, and being respectful to other people. I think it's just common practice. You know.
Right. And because the studio I work at is ran by a woman, the main producer is a woman. Almost all the cinematic team are women.
That's good.
It's one of the few studio where it's like 50-50 ratio, more or less,
Yeah.
of women and men. And the girls definitely get promotion quite quickly, and have the opportunity, most of them, at least.
You know what?
So
I worked with a couple of women, and like, I remember hearing, "Oh, she got promoted because she's this," and that's super shitty. You know what I mean? Like, no, she got promoted because she deserves it. Like, that's still my, like, I still hear that. Like, oh, look, she became a producer because the way she dresses, or like, have you seen who she hangs out with? Maybe, but have you ever said that about the other people that got promoted?
right. That
Like, we
brings
saw
me
it
to
at
the other
UB.
question. Yeah, I've seen that actually on Ubisoft as well. But that brings me to the other question. Do you think that because there's a lot of politics involved in companies and quotas, have you ever experienced you got an opportunity because you're a woman, not because you're the best lighting artist they could find?
No, I think the contrary has happened for me, honestly, because um, yeah, I got passed by a lot of times. Like, that's one of the reasons I love my companies, right? Like, multiple times, because, like I said, if you don't put yourself first, companies are not going to do it, right? And like, when I've left, I've said it. Like, on my exit interviews, well, I felt that I needed a spot on the table, and you know
Hmm,
what I mean. Like, it is
that's
important
good.
that we say it, because um, you need, I don't know if
Yeah,
we
you
don't.
better say it. That's why I'm
Yes.
asking the question. This is the platform to do it. There's plenty of
Well,
women
and it's,
watching.
yeah, it's not like I've worked with transgender people too, right? And like, it is important to, that's what I mean, provide that space, that we're all there to do a game, we're all there to do a task. What makes somebody better than others are skills, not what we are, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like,
I think I have the opposite problem in the sense that I don't see a woman or a man. I'm just talking to you because you're an artist. So in that case, I can be insensitive because I'm not really putting a label on you. I don't pay
well,
attention
also
if
your
you're
experience
gay
are
and
different
stuff.
than mine, right? That's why conversations like this are important, because then I see your point of view and then you see my point of view. It's just a conversation. I think things get muddy when people get defensive
Yeah.
and they're like, my opinion matters more than you. No, all our opinions matter because they're all different. Like, we our experiences are different.
It's definitely a bit more difficult now, I think, to navigate sometimes because you don't want to hurt someone by mistake, even, and you have to be a bit careful what you say and don't say. I am not necessarily someone who pay attention because most people they know I'm honest and genuine, so
Yeah.
they just
I think if you treat people with respect and don't say anything, like, I, do you know what I mean? I've never encountered that issue. Maybe because people have been careful with me, but at the same time, it's because it is a job. I don't know you. You know what I mean? Why would I say something that may be insensitive if we're just getting to know each other?
So
Like,
what's the advice then here? If you were to give some advice to people who might struggle with dealing with this unconsciously anyway, they're not aware of that they might be saying or doing
well, I can
something.
tell you, for example, when I was a junior, and this is where I think a lot of my, like, I wasn't very outspoken. When I was a junior lighter and I would hear something, sometimes, like, I like pushing people down doesn't make you better, especially in a game. Like, we, in a game, it's collaborative. the stronger the team, I don't like working with little superstars because of that. Like, the stronger the team and the more you share your knowledge, the stronger everybody gets. I think it's the same with creating an environment that is cohesive to work with everybody. Because if even if we all get mad, we all have bad days. But like, I've gotten
Blame
mad
the
at
coders.
people. Yeah, we all got mad. I got mad at people, and then just going back and being like, "Hey, I messed up. Right? I
Yeah.
was mad because of this, and this." Like, we understand. But just realizing that is a workspace. It's not a place. Sometimes, like, you make friends eventually, but at the beginning it is a workspace, and we should be respectful to everybody around us because you're gonna need them. And you know what? At the end of the day, uh, people move companies, and you have friends in other spaces. Like, I met Nora, and she's amazing. So, you know what I mean? Like, I would like. Okay. I'm potato because I can't ignore. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's that hard. Just be respectful. Like,
Yeah.
would you say that to your grandma?
Let's not find out. So I guess we'll do the last question, which might not be relevant, but we'll tweak it into it makes it
Sure.
relevant. So the question is, how many shots you have to do in one day, and how much time it will take to finish one shot? So you can technically answer it because your first job was related to this. But if you rather answer it differently, let's say if you had an environment to do or a part of a
Yeah.
cinematic shot or something, how much time would it take you to do that and
So,
say
for
it's done?
example, an environment like, let's say, Watch Dogs, right? Like, an interior, it would be first like around a week. Um, FIFA was around the same, so 3 days maybe. Um,
Cool.
and you do it in stages, right? Like, maybe the environment's not fully finished, so you do your base pass, and then you do a detailed pass, and then by the third pass, you should be ready to leave it, let it go.
Right.
Um, and the
Cool.
shots wise, like, yeah, maybe one cinematic a day. Depends
All right.
if it's fast.
That's it, folks. I have already stolen 3 minutes and 11
Sorry.
seconds, 12
Sorry, and I know you
seconds,
have another
13
thing to do.
seconds. No, but I wanted to talk to you longer, but I would actually just keep going if it wasn't for the fact that I need to show my face. So, oops,
No,
on the
I
Eidos.
hope you good
And
luck
also, I
with
want to
that.
talk to you before, after we end the stream. I want to talk a little bit more with you before you go on your way,
Okay.
because I do that with everyone, because everyone is my friend. Thank you for watching, Ramos. You should have told me that you were watching a bit earlier, but thank you for letting me know you're watching as well. And Manish, again, thank you for watching. And Nora, thank you for being a good sport. We do love you. Thank you. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Again, I'll see. Hopefully, there's a new guest next week. I haven't had any verification yet, so we'll see if that happens or not. On Discord, we have different events coming this month. We have portfolio review, which maybe, I don't know, Nora want to maybe join and give some feedback. Maybe Karla wants to join. I would love some new people, putting them on the spot right now to get them to join. It's so if you are, please message me if you will be keen to help me out there. The portfolio review is Friday at 7 p.m. So it's around this time on the 1st of July. We have an online meetup next Friday around this time as well on our Discord channel. So feel free to join that as well. And as usual, everyone, just some selfless promotion. I do teach lighting for games. There's a course on courses.lighting.com, lightingbot.com you can go to, and I pass on knowledge that everyone else is teaching me, to be fair, and then I kind of simplify it and I pass it on for new people to learn. So try and give that a chance because it funds everything I'm doing with Lighting Bot. So and all the costs that comes around. So thank you again for Karla for giving us the time
Thank you. Thank
and
you for
everyone
having me.
watching. I'm going to end the broadcast and then I'm going to pick Carla's brain a little bit more. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Bye.